First contact gone wrong. The Zalari Empire had ruled over 300 star systems for 10 millennia. Their crystalline ships glided through space like geometric perfection made manifest, powered by controlled singularities and armed with energy, weapons that could slice moons in half. When their deep space sensors detected radio signals from a small blue planet in an unremarkable spiral arm of the galaxy, Supreme Commander Korthax viewed it as nothing more than another routine conquest. The initial scans of Earth revealed a species barely capable of leaving their planet's atmosphere. Their vessels were primitive metal constructs that burned chemical fuel, and technology the Zalari had abandoned thousands of years ago. The humans had only colonized their own moon and established a few research stations on a nearby red planet they called Mars. By every metric the Zalari used to measure galactic civilizations, humanity ranked somewhere between amusing and pathetic. Korthax stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, as it approached Earth's solar system, with a fleet of 500 vessels. His four eyes studied the tactical displays showing human military assets, a few hundred satellites, some orbital platforms, and scattered ships that looked more like flying boxes than proper spacecraft. His mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his species. These humans still used projectile weapons and nuclear fission. They hadn't even discovered how to manipulate gravity fields or harness zero-point energy. The first sign that something was different about humans came when they tried to communicate. Instead of immediately surrendering or attacking in panic, Earth's united government sent a message. It was simple, direct, and surprisingly sophisticated in its use of mathematical concepts to establish common ground. The message, essentially, said that humanity welcomed peaceful contact but would defend itself if threatened. Korthax found this amusing. Every species said they would defend themselves. Few actually could. Following standard protocol for subjugating primitive worlds, Korthax ordered his fleet to destroy a few civilian vessels as a demonstration of power. 3 human cargo ships traveling between Earth and Mars were selected. The Zalari expected panic, chaos, and immediate surrender. What they got instead was silence. For exactly 1 hour, Earth said nothing. Then every single human transmission in the solar system stopped. Radio chatter, entertainment broadcasts, navigation beacons, everything went dark. The silence was so complete and coordinated that it actually unsettled some of the younger Zalari officers. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the command center of the USS Tempest, humanity's first true warship, hidden in the shadow of Jupiter. The vessel didn't look like much from the outside, a blocky utilitarian design that prioritized function over form. But humanity had learned different lessons than the Zalari. They had learned from centuries of conflict among themselves. They knew that in war, aesthetics meant nothing. Victory came from understanding your enemy, adapting faster than they could respond, and being willing to do whatever was necessary to survive. The Tempest and her sister ships had been built in secret over the past decade, ever since humanity's deep space telescopes had detected signs of intelligent life among the stars. Earth's governments had quietly united around a simple principle. They hoped for peace, but prepared for war. Every lesson learned from human history had been applied to these vessels. They incorporated stealth technology derived from submarine warfare, electronic warfare systems that could confuse any sensor array, and weapons that seemed primitive but were devastatingly effective. When the Zalari destroyed those cargo ships, they had unknowingly triggered Protocol 7, Earth's predetermined response to hostile first contact. Every human ship in the system went dark, activated stealth systems, and moved to predetermined positions. The aliens had expected Earth to reveal its military assets in a panic. Instead, humanity did what it had always done best. It vanished into the darkness and prepared to strike from the shadows. Korthax grew impatient with the silence. He ordered his fleet to advance toward Earth, confident that the humans were simply paralyzed with fear. His sensors showed empty space ahead, with Earth's primitive ships supposedly clustered in orbit around their homeworld. The Zalari fleet spread out in their traditional conquest formation, a mathematical perfect arrangement that had served them well for millennia. They never considered that their enemies might have studied them first, might have watched their approach for months and analyzed every aspect of their technology and tactics. The first indication of trouble came from the fleet's rear guard. 3. Zalari destroyers simply vanished from sensors. No explosions, no energy signatures, just gone. Korthax ordered scans of the area but found nothing. Then 5 more ships disappeared from the fleet's port flank. The Zalari weapons officers reported no incoming fire, no missiles, no energy beams. Their ships were simply ceasing to exist. Panic began to spread through the fleet as vessel after vessel vanished without explanation. What the Zalari didn't understand was that humanity had developed something they considered impossible. Kinetic weapons accelerated to 90% of light speed. Simple tungsten rods, no bigger than telephone poles, launched from mass drivers hidden on asteroids and moons throughout the solar system. The Zalari shields were designed to stop energy weapons and deflect slow-moving projectiles. They had never encountered anything moving so fast with such mass. The tungsten rods punched through their shields like tissue paper, and the kinetic energy released on impact vaporized the ships instantly. Admiral Chen watched the tactical display as the trap closed around the Zalari fleet. Humanity had turned the entire solar system into a shooting gallery, and the aliens had walked right into the center of it. But the kinetic strikes were just the beginning. She gave the order, and the Tempest's stealth systems deactivated. Suddenly, 200 human warships appeared throughout the Zalari formation, having been hiding in plain sight using a combination of radar-absorbing materials and active camouflage that bent light around their hulls. The human ships were ugly by Zalari standards. They were covered in armor plating, bristling with weapons ports, and looked like they had been designed by someone who cared nothing for symmetry or elegance. But that was because they had been designed by a species that had spent its entire existence finding new ways to kill things, including each other. Every surface was angled to deflect incoming fire. Every system had 3 backups. Every weapon was designed with one purpose: to destroy the enemy as efficiently as possible. Commander Zhang Wei, commanding the USS Thunder, was the first to engage the Zalari at close range. His ship launched a spread of nuclear-tipped missiles, another weapon the Zalari had dismissed as primitive. But humanity had learned to shape nuclear explosions, to focus them into directed blasts that could punch through almost any defense. The Zalari shields, designed to dissipate energy weapons, couldn't handle the combination of kinetic impact, electromagnetic pulse, and raw thermal energy delivered in a single concentrated burst. The battle turned into a massacre. The Zalari tried to return fire with their energy weapons, but the human ships were designed to absorb and disperse heat. Their armor was layered with ceramics and heat-dissipating composites developed for atmospheric re-entry. What energy weapons did get through were often deflected by angle surfaces or absorbed by sacrificial armor plates that could be jettisoned and replaced. Meanwhile, human weapons continued to tear through the Zalari fleet. Railguns firing depleted, uranium rounds, missile swarms that confused point defense systems, and even simple explosive charges attached to boarding pods that latched onto enemy hulls. But perhaps the most terrifying aspect for the Zalari was the human crews themselves. When the Eternal Dominion managed to disable the USS Courage, the human crew didn't surrender. They set their reactor to overload, accelerated to maximum speed, and rammed the Zalari flagship. The explosion destroyed both vessels, but not before the Courage's crew transmitted a single message: "Remember the Alamo." The Zalari had no context for this reference, but the willingness of humans to sacrifice themselves to destroy their enemies sent shockwaves through the alien fleet. As the Yaste battle raged, Korthax realized with growing horror that his fleet was being systematically destroyed by a species they had dismissed as primitive. The humans fought with a savage creativity that the Zalari had never encountered. They used their ships as battering rams, turned their own escape pods into guided missiles, and even vented their atmosphere to create thrust for unexpected maneuvers. Every tactic was unpredictable, every strategy seemingly insane, yet devastatingly effective. The Thunder of Terra. The turning point of the battle came when humanity revealed its true masterpiece. From the dark side of Earth's moon, a massive construction emerged. The USS Retribution was humanity's first supercapital ship, a vessel 2 kilometers long that had been built in secret over 5 years. It wasn't beautiful like the Zalari ships. It was a brutal monument to human engineering, basically a flying fortress designed to deliver overwhelming firepower while absorbing tremendous damage. Captain Alexandra Volkov commanded the Retribution with the cold efficiency of someone who had studied every major naval battle in human history. She understood that war wasn't about honor or glory. It was about winning. The Retribution's main weapon was something the Zalari considered impossible: a spinal-mounted mass accelerator that ran the entire length of the ship. It could launch projectiles the size of buildings at velocities that turned them into artificial meteors. The first shot from the Retribution's main gun targeted the largest remaining Zalari battleship. The projectile, a specially designed penetrator, made from compressed carbon lattices harder than diamond, hit with the force of a small asteroid. The Zalari vessel didn't explode. It simply crumpled, its crystalline structure shattering like glass hit by a sledgehammer. The shockwave from the impact disabled 3 nearby ships, their crews killed instantly by the massive acceleration forces. Korthax watched in disbelief as his fleet, which had conquered hundreds of worlds, was torn apart by a species that had only recently achieved spaceflight. But worse was yet to come. The humans began broadcasting on all frequencies, not to the Zalari, but to anyone else who might be listening. They transmitted detailed tactical data about how they were defeating the Zalari, essentially teaching the entire galaxy how to fight back against the empire that had oppressed them for so long. The psychological warfare was as effective as the physical combat. Humanity broadcasted recordings of Zalari crews surrendering, something the empire claimed never happened. They showed images of destroyed Zalari ships with commentary explaining exactly how primitive human weapons had defeated advanced alien technology. The message was clear: the Zalari were not invincible. They could be beaten, and humanity was showing the galaxy exactly how to do it. Admiral Chen coordinated the fleet's movements with a precision that would have impressed any Zalari strategist, if they had survived long enough to appreciate it. Human ships worked in wolf packs, using tactics developed by submarine crews in Earth's oceans. They would appear from nowhere, strike hard, and disappear before the enemy could respond. The Zalari's mathematical formation, so perfect and predictable, became death traps as human forces exploited every weakness. The battle near Jupiter became the stuff of legend. The Zalari made a desperate attempt to regroup near the gas giant, using its massive gravity well to shield their movements from human sensors. But humanity had anticipated this. They had seeded Jupiter's moons with automated weapon platforms months earlier. As the Zalari fleet tried to reorganize, hundreds of missile silos hidden beneath the ice of Europa and Ganymede opened fire simultaneously. Lieutenant Commander James Thompson, piloting a small fighter craft, performed the maneuver that would later be taught in military academies across the galaxy. Using Jupiter's gravity to slingshot his craft to incredible speeds, he managed to get inside the shield bubble of a Zalari command cruiser. With his weapons depleted, he used his fighter itself as a kinetic weapon, punching through the bridge viewports and decompressing the entire command deck. His final transmission was simply, "Newton sends his regards." The Zalari tried to adapt to human tactics, but every adjustment they made was countered by something new and unexpected. When they strengthened their shields against kinetic weapons, the humans switched to directed energy weapons powered by nuclear explosions. When the Zalari grouped their ships for mutual defense, human forces deployed swarms of autonomous drones that overwhelmed point defense systems. When the aliens tried to retreat, they found that humans had somehow predicted their escape routes and mined them with nuclear devices. The most terrifying moment for the Zalari came when they realized that the humans weren't just defending their system, they were learning. Every Zalari weapon that fired was analyzed, its energy signature recorded, its effects studied. Human ships began deploying countermeasures specifically designed to neutralize Zalari technology. Within hours of the battle starting, Earth's forces were using captured Zalari weapons against their former owners, having figured out how to operate them through rapid reverse engineering. Commander Yuki Tanaka of the USS Ronin demonstrated another aspect of human warfare that shocked the Zalari: When her ship was heavily damaged and losing atmosphere, instead of retreating, she ordered all non-essential crew to the escape pods and continued fighting with a skeleton crew. The Ronin, venting atmosphere and trailing debris, continued to engage enemy vessels for 3 more hours. When asked later why she didn't retreat, Tanaka simply replied that retreat was not a word in her family's vocabulary for the last 1,000 years. The culmination of the battle came when humanity deployed its most insane weapon. A group of volunteers had piloted small craft loaded with antimatter containment units directly into the heart of the Zalari formation. The Zalari dismissed these suicide runs as desperate and futile. They didn't realize until too late that the humans weren't trying to hit them directly. The pilots released their antimatter payloads and escaped in stealth pods, leaving clouds of antimatter drifting through space. When the Zalari ships inevitably hit these clouds, the resulting matter-antimatter annihilation destroyed dozens of vessels instantly. Korthax, watching his fleet being systematically destroyed, made the only decision he could. He ordered a full retreat. But even this proved difficult. The humans had anticipated this possibility and had positioned ships along every probable escape vector. The retreat turned into a running battle, with human forces harrying the Zalari all the way to the edge of the solar system. Of the 500 ships that had entered human space, fewer than 50 escaped. The aftermath of the battle sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The Zalari Empire, which had never lost a major engagement, had been utterly defeated by a species that hadn't even achieved faster-than-light travel. The implications were staggering. If humans could do this with primitive technology, what would they be capable of once they gained access to advanced alien science? The thought terrified every spacefaring civilization in the galaxy. But humanity's response to victory surprised everyone even more. Instead of demanding revenge or territory, Earth's united government sent a simple message to the galaxy. They offered to share their tactical knowledge with any species oppressed by the Zalari Empire, asking nothing in return except peaceful relations. Within days, dozens of civilizations were requesting Earth's assistance in throwing off Zalari rule. The empire that had stood for 10,000 years began to crumble, not from external invasion, but from internal rebellion inspired by humanity's example. The Zalari Empire's records of the battle, recovered years later, contained a warning. For any who would threaten Earth, do not engage humans in warfare. They have spent their entire evolutionary history perfecting the art of destruction. They treat war not as a contest of technology, but as a puzzle to be solved through any means necessary. They will sacrifice themselves to destroy you. They will use weapons you cannot imagine. They will fight in ways that defy logic. And most terrifyingly, they will learn from every encounter, becoming stronger with each battle. The humans do not just wage war, they embody it. Admiral Chen, standing on the bridge of the Tempest as the last Zalari ship fled the solar system, turned to her crew. Send a message to Earth. Tell them the solar system is secure. And send a message to the galaxy. Tell them that humanity stands, ready to defend not just our world, but any world that seeks freedom from oppression. We didn't ask for this fight, but by God, we finished it. The galaxy would never be the same. The day the humans revealed their warships was the day the established order died. In its place rose something new, an age where technology alone didn't determine victory, where creativity and determination could overcome any advantage. The Zalari had expected to find primitives. Instead, they found warriors who had turned warfare into an art form. And in the depths of space, other civilizations took note. If ever there was a species to ally with or to avoid angering, it was humanity. The Battle of Sol, as it came to be known, established 3 universal truths that every spacefaring race would learn. First, never underestimate a species based on their technology level. Second, humans might prefer peace, but they excel at war. And third, perhaps most importantly, when humans name their ships things like retribution, thunder, and tempest, they mean it literally. The stars had witnessed Earth's thunder, and they would not soon forget it.